The following program is rated TV MAL. It contains strong language and is intended only for mature audiences.
TBS, America's #1 independent television network, presents the following sports exclusive.
You're listening to Basically a Sports Show.
Follow us on Twitter at Basically Sports.
Subscribe to our podcast on iTunes.
And check out every episode of the show at basicallysports.tumblr.com.
Now here's your hosts, Zach,
Greg, Mike.
And this is Andy, and you're listening to Basically a Sports Show.
All right, boys, we're tempting fate tonight. All four of us are here at the same time and on time. Let's hope that we can get through it. So someone's typing furiously in the background.
Oh, sorry, that's me.
It's Mike. He's our stenographer.
For any listeners that want, Mike has the entire backlog of all of our conversations.
Yes, it's in long form.
Remember the old days when a TV show afterwards would go, if you'd like a transcript of this show, send $3 to whatever. So if you want a transcript of this show, send $3 to Mike and he'll send you a transcript of the show.
Yeah. It would be kind of fun to like go through what YouTube, like it has its like auto captions.
Oh, it's hilarious. You should try it sometime.
Just to see what the things we're saying.
The show is 80% funnier if you listen to it with the captions on. If you watch the captions, it's, oh my God. Especially when we all four are talking at the same time, it just becomes complete gibberish. But sentences will form. It's like when they put 80 chimps in a room and they accidentally type a sentence. It's one of those things. It's pretty funny, actually.
Greg, I'm noticing you're using the outdated spelling of the word Cleveland in your name today.
I am.
Yeah.
What's different about it?
Well, did you see the Indians press release today?
Oh God,
they misspelled Cleveland.
They're the Cleveland baseball team.
They said they were gonna change the name, and they did.
Well, Cleveland itself was actually originally spelled Cleveland, like a meat cleaver. It was named after, I think, a general or something. It's Cleveland, and then
Moses Cleveland or somebody like that.
Yeah.
It's funny. My girlfriend asked me about that today. I said I think it was like this Moses Cleveland guy, but I'm not sure.
And they have a statue for him and everything. And he, then I guess a newspaper misspelled it or spelled it like Cleve, like how they wanted to spell it. And then after that, people were like, "Oh, okay, all right. Well, I guess
we like this better. We'll go with this spelling instead."
So it may stick. You never know.
Hey, I hope. Was it Cleveland?
I don't know. I didn't see the press release.
Well.
Yeah, it's right in the headline of the press release. CLEVLAND. Cleveland. Cleveland Indians announced decision to change current team name. Again,
was that from them or was that from MLB?
No, this is from it's Indians letterhead and the whole damn thing. So this is funny. We talked about this when the Washington team changed their name, and we were like astounded at the amount of times that they used the team name that we now deemed racist. They had that like
they had it 7 times before we even got to like the announcement.
Right. so looking at this Cleveland thing. At the top, it has the Indian script. It says Indians and then news release. And then next to that, it says Cleveland Indians. Under that, it says Indians.com. And then the headline for it is Cleveland Indians announced decision to change current team name. The first sentence, the Cleveland Indians today announced our decision to begin the process of changing from our team name, quote, Indians, and on and on and on. So it's just like, again, like Indians is not nearly the same thing as Redskins was, but you know, if you've determined that you're not going to use your name going forward because it is culturally insensitive to a group, and that is the impetus for changing the name, well, maybe you
don't use the name everywhere.
One of the
not using it in every single sentence at least twice.
One of the dull ones, I saw this in the thread on the board, said that they had considered the name unacceptable to use, whatever. But we're going to keep using it for 2 years, or at least one more year.
Yeah.
So it's unacceptable. We're going to keep using it.
Well, because I guess from what it says here is that they are going to continue to sell selected merchandise featuring the historic name and the logo, including Chief Wahoo, as a way to acknowledge our history. As part of our ongoing commitment to promote diversity, equity, and inclusion, it is our intention to donate profits from the sale of Chief Wahoo merchandise to Native American-focused organizations and causes.
But I thought they had just completely wiped out Wahoo? That he was
no. You can still buy Wahoo gear. I think at like the team store.
Okay. So they're still selling him on merch. They just don't have it.
If you walk into a store around here, he's everywhere.
Sure.
Well, guys, listen, we got a lot of stuff in warehouses. It ain't going to sell itself. All right, we got to get that shit out of here.
I guess you're right.
They're not going to dump that shit into Africa or something. There's going to be 10 generations of people in the poorest parts of Africa and third world areas of our world where they'll be this peppered with
Chief Wahoo becomes like a cultural icon in Africa. Jeez.
What's the country African Hitler's in again? That's the perfect
Namibia.
Yeah, there you go.
So I guess for this year, sorry. So did they clarify for this year if they are going to be wearing the name India, their current stuff for one more season? Is
at the end of 2021 is what they said.
What's
they're not going to be the Cleveland baseball team for a year.
So wait, so
disappointed by.
Well, so they haven't worn Wahoo for a year at least, right?
Right. Yeah.
At minimum of a year.
So they're not going to do it. I'm assuming they will not wear Wahoo this year, but they'll still be the Indians for this year.
Yeah, they lose. I think the official removal of Wahoo was before the 2019 season. I think. Does that sound right, guys?
Something like that.
Yeah.
I think it was the year before they had the All-Star game, right?
Something might have been. I don't remember.
Yeah, because it was like this really convenient thing where it's like the All-Star game happened, so they replaced Wahoo on the sleeve of the All-Star game patch for a year, and then the All-Star game was over and Wahoo just didn't come back.
So according to Wikipedia, it was last worn on October 8th, 2018.
So
in the ALDS, which was ironically Indigenous Peoples Day or Columbus Day. So very fitting that.
Well, I think that, like Zach said, Indians isn't nearly as offensive.
No,
but I also believe that had they not been so steadfast in their refusal to remove Wahoo for all these years, they might have had a little capital to work with where they could have kept this name, but not now.
Yeah, because I think it's the same thing as because now that the Indians are doing it, it's everyone's going to turn to, okay, well, who's next?
Right.
You Chicago Blackhawks, you Atlanta Braves, you Kansas City Chiefs. And it's well, sure, Atlanta Braves and the Tomahawk, it depicts them as warmongering,
savages.
Yeah, and it's well, it's a Tomahawk. It's not
it's pretty loose.
It's not an actual person.
No, I put it on the same level as the arrowhead on the Chiefs helmet. It's just kind of an innocuous thing, fairly.
Those are Native American imagery, certainly, but it's not demeaning the. I don't see it as an actual. I mean, us again. Preface this by saying 4 white guys on a podcast on the internet.
One of us isn't entirely white, but yeah, I get what you're saying.
Sure, you're right. Greg is our representative to the board, as it were. Right. But it's not nearly the same thing as Washington Redskins. It's not the same thing as Chief Wahoo. I think the only one that's questionable still is the Blackhawks logo.
Yeah.
We touched on it a little bit when they did the retro jerseys, but
it'll go eventually. It'll have its time. I mean, I think the Blackhawks will always be the Blackhawks, but I do think they'll go literal at some point. They'll abandon the crest or go to some sort of.
I kind of hope not, because you've got to, and I'm not Indian enough, for lack of a better term, or not wanting to say Indigenous people or Native American for the 50th fucking time today, but. I'm not enough. I don't have enough in my bloodline to make a definitive statement on this, but from my perspective, and you've got to remember, I've got relatives that go back to the Trail of Tears. So I've got a little bit, not much, but I don't know that Blackhawks is the same thing as Wahoo or Redskins.
Well, I mean,
it's just not,
I mean, if we are just going to talk about objectively speaking, what the Blackhawks logo is, one, the name is a reference to Chief Blackhawk, who was a real person. and 2, the logo. I have always understood it to just simply be like that's just a portrait of Chief Chief Blackhawk. Like it's just a picture of the dude, right?
And Chief Wahoo on a Blackhawks jersey would be, I'm sorry, it'd be hilarious. It would be terrible, but it would be really funny.
but I mean that's my point, right? Where it's like it's Chief Wahoo was a racist cartoon. But the Blackhawks logo is supposed to be a relatively accurate depiction of a real dude's, face.
And I think it's dignified too. I don't think it's Chief Wahoo. And I got to explain this. I grew up here, so as a kid, I loved Chief Wahoo because he was just fun. But at the point, you've got to go, yeah, he's great and it's funny and all that, but it's so wrong. And the funny thing to me is that the iteration of Wahoo that got taken away was the better one of the two. I don't even seen the previous one. Oh my god!
Oh yeah, no, the original one is somehow even more racist.
Well, I think the Blackhawks have a pretty couple easy fixes here, right? Either so we don't want to have a Native American person at all in the logo. Take the shoulder patch and make it the main logo. The see with the tomahawks, like that's easy enough. Or if you want to do like a more overarching thing and get rid of the Native American imagery altogether, go back in time and put the space in between black and hawks, and then just make them, black birds.
Well, the original, so the Black Hawk was a chief who was so essentially the team was actually named after a World War
I battalion, I think.
Yeah,
right?
I think that's correct. Yeah,
battalion was named after
and the battalion was named after the chief. Yeah.
In the person, the Native American in the Blackhawks crest was just, it wasn't based on anybody. It was just, I think somebody's wife just drew. It's like Joyce, I need a logo for my hockey team. Draw me an Indian. She's okay. and they updated it. The one that's been in use that's hasn't really changed at all. I think it's from like the 60s. I want to say like late 60s, and I mean again, like if you look at it, it's not. It's frustrating because it is such a beautiful crest. I mean it is incredibly.
It's a classic hockey crest.
Yes, and it is
especially on the jersey with like the chain stitching and all that. It's It's really nice.
It's special, and I mean I don't think, and to the Blackhawks' credit, they've stayed out ahead of it quite a bit over the years. And I don't want to bogart the entire show with this stuff. By the way, if you guys want to change subjects, I know we're all kind of tired of this stuff, but yeah, I mean it's a long way to go. And I think that if you watch Cleveland, like they've spent how many years now, like 5 years, kind of winding down this road. It hasn't been overnight. This has been ongoing for quite a while.
And I mean, all for where we all kind of figured the end game was anyway. Like, doesn't like the way that everything's unfolded, doesn't it seem like it would have just been better if the Redskins and the Indians had just dropped this shit in like the early 2000s? Like,
yeah, well, the other part
it's like if you're all just going to end up dropping these names and logos and completely rebranding anyway, was it really worth it to hold out for like 20 more years?
They all should have had a joint press conference together.
Mm-hmm.
On some sort of reservation, and just we're all doing this together.
Well, Washington,
dropping all pretense.
Washington had no intentions of doing this. I think it was George Floyd.
Yeah,
the George Floyd stuff is what prompted them to just finally do away with it. And this one didn't have that, because I feel like we've kind of discussed the CCSLC forum reaction to this has been really muted compared to the Washington name change, because I think it had no immediate political, like there wasn't, it clearly wasn't
inevitable.
A reaction, right?
It was going to happen at some point.
I still stand by the idea that had they not stuck with Wahoo the way they did, you could have pulled the Spokane Indians here and kept the name.
Oh really no. Like I even said that, like there was a period in the 70s where they took Wahoo off the hats, right? And it's like, let's just say hypothetically that Wahoo fades away in the 70s, and they just go with various forms of like block C's or stylized C's from like the 70s
cursive eyes,
or like cursive eyes, and then like come the mid 2000s, someone decides like hey, we're gonna pull a Spokane Indians thing, and then like boom, they basically keep the name forever and everyone likes them. But because as we've been saying, like the name Indians itself isn't nearly as bad as say Redskins, but I think what's made it untenable is that they stuck with Wahoo for so long that it just soured everyone to the whole identity.
Because now if you try to go the route of the Spokane Indians, it's going to look like nothing more than just flat out pandering.
Yeah.
Where you're just trying to save your ass. Whereas if you had done this, like you said, Mike, back in the early 2000s, and the history of Wahoo, you have to double check me on this, but I know that Wahoo in my lifetime didn't pop up on a hat until like 86.
Mm-hmm.
It was always the Wishbone C, and then they went to the Block C for a while in the late 70s, early 80s. Wahoo was there from that point forward until 2019. So I think they had him in the hat a little bit in the 50s, I want to say, because I've got a throwback hat with the Wishbone C with the Wahoo in the middle of it, which is probably
pull up their hat history.
But yeah, if you hadn't stuck to Wahoo the way you did it, I mean, when people look, I've been to opening day games at Jacobs Field, and this was in like 97. There were protests then about Wahoo. Wasn't so much about the name, it was about Wahoo. It's like, enough with the cartoon shit. This isn't what we look like, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. So the history of the Native American head with the team, they first had a crudely drawn, not necessarily racist or anything, just crudely drawn Indian in 1928 up to 32. They kind of made a little bit more like passively cartoony one in 38, more accurate from 39 to 45, and then Chief Wahoo, giant nose and all, like as you said, somehow even worse than the one that we were living with, came up in 1946.
But he was only on the hat for a short time.
But he only came on the hat. He was on the hat with the Wishbone C, like together, from 47 to 57. Back in 62.
I thought.
And then he didn't go back to a hat. He didn't go back to the hat until 86.
Yeah. Yep.
I'm trying to think. When was Major League?
An arm patch, or hold on, I'm trying.
Oh yeah, he was everywhere. I mean, it wasn't like he was nowhere to be seen.
Okay,
he just wasn't on the hat. He was everywhere. I mean, you walk in that stadium, either one of them, really, the old one or Progressive Field. If somebody said, "I'll give you $1 for every Wahoo in this place," you would have walked out of there with a couple $100,000. I promise you. I mean, he was fucking everywhere. And then there was the big sign on the old stadium.
He was on the jersey.
Yeah. On the jersey.
He was on the jersey in 63. So, 63 to 69, according to the mothership.
Really?
I don't know if that includes. I don't know if that includes arm patches.
Okay.
But,
but like I said, if you walked into the park and to this day, you can still buy Wahoo stuff right off the rack, because I don't know. I just think that had they gone with getting rid of Wahoo back when, I'm sure they first started calling for it way before even the 90s or the 2000s, but had they said, yeah, this Wahoo thing is not a great idea, then you can say, okay, let's do the Spokane Indians thing, but now you can't. It's going to look like you're just trying to save your ass at this point. So they ruined any chance of doing that.
What in your mind, Greg, is it kind of, what's the next? What is the front runner going forward? Is it spiders?
That would be my impression. Yeah.
Is that just kind of the default that we're going to fall into, is go back and grab the Cleveland Spiders?
I think so. I don't know. I saw somebody on the boards that a really nice concept of it. It wasn't your grandiose angry spider with a baseball bat. It was really well done. It looked similar to the Spider-Man logo on his chest, on Spider-Man's costume, and a nice hat. It was really, really well done. Very tasteful. And I thought, I can live with that if that's what they want to do. It wasn't.
I've seen like think they would make it C with a spider web in between the C, which is kind of nice.
Yeah, I've seen that one too. That's not bad.
Yeah, I like the ones that are more kind of they're flat and they're simple. And the problem with the spider when you have 8 legs is that there's a lot of detail you got to cram into a logo or the spider web. But I feel like that could be. It is such an unexplored mascot, like that is so much room. And not only does it have historical precedent, it has a lot of like marketing capital that you can totally jump all over. And
the only ones I can think of is the Cleveland Spiders team that we're talking about from the 20s, whenever it was.
Yeah.
And then the Richmond Spiders in college. And that's it. That's all I can think of.
Yeah.
Well, there was somebody just posted something about the Cleveland Citizens appears to be a trademark registered by Major League Baseball.
Oh Lord.
So yeah, that appears to be legit, which is depressing. Cleveland Citizens, like what? What is that?
So are we all just going to ignore that Spiders is the best name?
No.
We were
I
just
mean,
talking about it.
Yeah, Spiders is the best, but Cleveland Citizens apparently has been. They put that one in their pocket. I don't know if it means anything, but it's been mentioned. So,
Well, and like you say, Andy, I think if they go Spiders, they have to keep it flat, kind of like Greg was talking about, a Spider-Man-esque type logo. Because like I'm just on the Richmond Spiders page on the mothership, and most of them are flat. And then there's only one that's a little bit more detailed, gives you a little bit more spider stuff. It's like, no, don't like that at all. Because the other thing that people have to remember is there's a lot of people that really don't like spiders.
Also, the thing
you gotta kind of keep it tame.
Also, another thing with Spiders that concerns me is, does Brandios just do a Cleveland Spiders logo that is utterly atrocious?
We can't let Brandios anywhere near this, because if they do, then you're gonna get some sort of cartoony ass.
Yeah, it's angry spider with a baseball bat.
Yeah,
it's Nike. I mean, Nike would be the one doing the rebrand, so they're not going to go. They're not going to go that direction.
And like I said, if you can find it on the boards, it wasn't in the concepts. It was one of the threads we were talking about this earlier. Someone did I just think a fantastic Spiders workup with a really nice, tasteful logo, really well done. And I thought, boy, if they went with that, I'd be perfectly fine with it. It looked really good.
I mean, the way that it seems like the team, the way that seems the way the fan base is reacting is that Spiders is just so clearly what they should do. Like anything else is just not going to be as good.
Not only that, but I think that the people around here would probably find it a little more palatable if it was something that was from the team's history, where they could say, okay, yeah, we're not the Indians anymore. Now we're the Spiders like we used to be 100 years ago. That might make it a little easier to swallow, because I haven't seen it yet, surprisingly, where everybody's just exploded with, oh my God, what are they doing? I've seen a couple here and there, but the reaction's not been as strong as I thought it would be about this. Which I don't know if it's because they're going to be the Indians still this year, and they're just going to wait to get mad about it after it's over. I don't know.
Well, Zach, just to go to the point, and I think Mike mentioned it too about spiders being scary. I mean, I think just as many people or more are scared of snakes, and we've got at least the Diamondbacks to consider.
Guys, I am petrified.
But it's not like the Diamondback snake isn't exactly like a very detailed. Like the thing that people are afraid of. Like people just don't like creepy crawly stuff. Like, right?
Yeah, but here's the thing,
the spider a little bit too creepy crawly, and not just like the Spider-Man logo. Like
people are scared of sharks. I mean,
I'm petrified of birds, and I mean, but it doesn't stop me from wearing a Blue Jays hat or an Orioles hat.
Maybe
that's what I'm okay. But
some
I'm
people are afraid of senators. I mean.
I am.
But if you make the spider too detailed, people are going to think that's gross, and I don't want to wear that.
Well, right. No, you do.
That's what I mean.
You don't want it to be like some giant, like just with a baseball player like inside of a web cocoon sucking the life out of it.
That's the most realistic logo I've ever seen.
I
never thought you could transfer that to a hat, but turns out you can.
A lot of detail.
I don't know. It's just that I've seen some of the other names, potential names being thrown around, and they're all just various degrees of bad. Like,
you don't like the Cleveland Rockers, Mike?
Cleveland Rockers is dumb. I've seen like Cleveland Citizens is dumb. What else?
Citizens is the dumbest one I've seen so far.
Cleveland Blues is dumb.
I saw one on Twitter for Cleveland Guardians.
Oh God!
Why?
That's what you call the team if you're going to do a movie and you can't get MLB to give you the rights. Then you call them the Guardians.
Is there some statue in Cleveland that are referred to as the Guardians of Cleveland or something?
I don't know. If you want to go totally Cleveland, make them the orange construction cones. That's the most indigenous thing to that place.
Let's just call them the Browns.
I'm fine with that. I think it'd be great to have the old
Cleveland
days like.
It's the Forest City. That is the nickname. It's called the Foresters or something. Or here's
the problem with that. I think
Cleveland Lakers
put into the thread that because of that, all throughout Northern Ohio, there were these auto parts stores called Forest City Auto Parts. And if you look it up, just look up Forest City Auto Parts Ohio and look at the logo. That's what everyone's going to think of when they hear that name. So that's kind of problematic because there was already a Forest City thing here, and so, it's this weird guy with like a giant neck.
Oh my god!
Yeah, right.
Yeah, that's unpleasant.
Right.
What is that?
Nobody ever knew. I never understood it.
Let's just see. Apparently, there's some history behind this, of course.
Great place to get auto parts, I'll say that. But my God, that logo it's frightening.
Nope, I don't like looking at that, so I'm going to close that. And my life just got better.
On one of these like old print ads that I found here, it says the guy says looking for better service, so maybe he's stretching his neck looking for service somewhere.
Yeah, but it's still
don't look any further. Just come to Forest City.
Oh, well, all right. That was a long way to go just to put a guy with a big long neck on a building, but all right.
I
don't know.
Yeah.
That's my.
Chaos Blast. What I think the quote of the chat so far. The Guardians guard the land, obviously.
Yeah. Why don't we just call it the land? Just call it not even like Cleveland baseball team, just the land.
I would have to the Cleveland LeBrons. Just kind of awkwardly name after LeBron James.
Who was it that suggested
the Cuyahogas?
The Cuyahogas? I think that's Indian derivative too, Zach.
No,
so,
you're going.
Is it?
Yeah, Cuyahoga was a tribe here. Yeah. Again, they screwed this up so badly with Wahoo. They really could have kept the name if they had just gotten rid of that ridiculous logo. Simple as that. I don't know why they.
Yeah.
Somebody else posited the theory that they're going to just ride it out for a couple of years and see if it goes away. I wouldn't put that past them. Just kind of like, we're going to do this and then, we're going to wait. We're not ready yet. And then to see if it kind of just all dies out because my God, who knows what we'll be into by 2022?
Well, I don't know. I think once you start those wheels turning, if something doesn't actually happen, you're going to be in a hotter water than you would be if you just did something about it.
Well, let's take a little poll here among the group here to kind of to switch gears to football a little bit. How do you
poll?
How do you? Yeah, very very. It captures a lot of data.
Scientific all the way.
Yes. How do you feel like the Washington football team has done with their because I feel like they're far enough along in this process to where they're probably getting pretty close to making a decision as far as if this year has been a success. Not really so much on the field, but with the whole abandoning of any sort of branding necessarily. Do you think that they're entrenched now and they're well, we've made a decision and we're going to stick with this because the people seem to enjoy it?
That's what I've thought that all along, that Dan Snyder, being Dan Snyder, won't get a new name because this way we're just the Washington football team. You can call us whatever you want. And that, there's nobody at the stadium these days, but that all the fans in that fan group are still referring to that team as the Redskins, and they're not going to change that. So
I think that's a good point because they might be in an entirely different situation if there were people in the stadium every week holding up giant signs that say we're still the Redskins. They don't have to deal with that. They just go on TV and you just read football team in a box score and it just
never stops being funny.
Right. It just kind of is what it is and you don't have to think too hard about it because that's just what they are. And if you're not in the city, if you're not dealing with their fans all the time, then you're probably just much more accepting of what it is. So I think that it's I've kind of fought for it. I think it'd be fun for a bit, but I think it almost does kind of work. It's unique to them now, and that's why Cleveland baseball team, as much as it would be funny to see, they couldn't do that now either because it's Washington did it already.
Yeah, before
so yours would definitely be a placeholder.
Then you're going to have the Atlanta baseball team, the Kansas City football team, the Chicago hockey team. It's got to stop somewhere. Much as I would love to do it for one season.
Well, so my only thing with this is that, like you said, Zach, when the people come back to the stadiums, I assume it'll be this next year. They're going to have it's going to be a talking point that there's going to be a lot of people that will simply be wearing their their Redskin regalia. They'll be holding up signs. They'll be painting their face and wearing the headset, whatever the head things. I can't remember what the headdress. All that stuff, and they're going to be doing it, and I'm sure it'll be a big point on television. But you got to think that if they do say we're going to stick with Washington football team, that the sort of oral tradition of calling them the Redskins and the like fan desires to bring the stuff to the game and to make it the whole Redskin themed bit, that will fade out over time if they stick with. If they stick with football team, but it will take a lot longer if they don't rebrand. I feel like if you rebrand to like something with any sort of mascot, you're going to have a portion of the fan base that will certainly just jump right on it, and it'll be a lot more seamless because there's a lot of people. People love to just buy merch.
See, I disagree with that. I think that if they stick with football team, it won't be as much of a battle point for these people. Whereas if you show up and like these are the Red Wolves now, those people are going to dig in and die on that hill.
Maybe.
So you think?
Maybe.
I could be wrong.
I think the year or two. I just think the year that we're going through now, and I assume they're still. I would almost say, for their sake, give it another buffer year and then rebrand. To give you a little bit of space.
I'm just gonna repeat what I said earlier when all of this first went down. The Washington football team name. Maybe Dan Snyder wants that. It doesn't matter. The NFL long term is very image savvy. It's very brand savvy. It's not going to let Washington football team be the name long term. Like, it's going to happen in maybe it's going to happen that at some point, maybe after 2 years of Washington football team, the NFL is going to be like, okay, you've got to change. You've got to pick a real name now. Like,
yeah, but can't Dan Snyder go, sorry, but I'm not going to do it? I mean, what is there a rule that he has to do it if they force him into it?
I mean, if enough, I mean, the thing about the rules of the NFL is that they're arbitrary. The NFL isn't a legal entity. It's not. Its rule book is entirely up to the discretion of its collective ownership group. If the NFL collectively says you've got to do it, then that's a fair point. Then I would just say that the NFL looks even worse now because they could have forced them to change the name Redskins a long time ago. They could have. Yeah, no, absolutely.
They don't care. I know they
don't. But they only cared when the sponsors started to care. But
like anything.
But I mean, I legitimately do not believe that Washington football team is going to last beyond 2 seasons because I don't think that the NFL's marketing team is going to let it happen. Like it's going like eventually they're just going to say like, we need you to have a real name.
And I think as like we all love the joke. We all think it's quite fun, and it is. But will it be the same thing next year?
Well, see,
if you tried to go into a third year of like we're the Washington football, it's like okay, yeah, we get it.
That's the thing. That's the thing. Like a lot
call
of
yourself something.
A lot of the support for the Washington football team has sort of been in a meme context where it's like, oh, look at the funny thing, right? And that stuff is going to get old eventually. Like I'm convinced that the Washington football team merch has sold as well as it has had, in part to people thinking it's going to be temporary and it's going to be like, oh, like in 2 years they're going to get a new name that they're going to be for the rest of their existence, and so get this Washington football team gear for like the 2 years it's around, so it'll be like this kind of cool retro thing. But I don't think it's going to last.
Let me ask you this: what if it keeps selling very well for the next 2 or 3 years, and the NFL goes, hey, you know what, you're doing all right with this? We'll let it go.
If it keeps selling, then the NFL might very well let it go, but I legitimately don't believe it will.
Well, we all are in agreement that the only thing that's going to make them change is money, right?
Mm-hmm.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay.
So my thought was I was trying to do a little research to see if I thought maybe Chase Young, maybe he's a young, really big star, coming star in the league. If his jersey was like one of the top sellers, that maybe that'd be He's a beast, yeah, but he's not even in the top 25, so I don't, that point kind of down the toilet.
Well, yeah, I think he is very good. the team, despite its little run here to
Bastards
an
on
unfortunate
stick.
sixth win,
Guys. Yeah, I know.
a very unfortunate sixth win this week.
Yep.
They're still bad, right? Like it's fun. Like again, everything about this team and their context is funny this season. The name is funny. The fact that they were in first place at 3-7 or whatever the hell was funny. And so, if they're like a 9-7 team next year, and it's another year of this, and it's like, all right, fine. Like, give them a name, give them an identity, and I still stand by the thing of, I think it's easy. There hasn't been as much problem, and it's been easier to accept because there's nobody in the building.
Yeah.
And it would be different if every home game in Washington that they would cut to somebody in the stands wearing the Redskins t-shirt or, with the headdress, and then they would address it every single game. That's different than there's nobody here. We just have to talk about the football, and their name is football team. So we're going to talk about them.
Well, two things, 2 points of order here. So we do have to discuss the ignominious tournament of disgrace at some point. Does anyone have any collective NFL thoughts here before we spin the wheel and make the deal? Just trying to make sure we get our stuff in before the
It was a pretty uneventful week, really. Miami and Kansas City got together for one of the best uniform matchups you're going to ever see.
This is why are the Dolphins not wearing the throwbacks? Like, they look so nice.
That was just a beautiful, beautiful football game. Unbelievable.
The only noteworthy NFL thing I wanted to bring up, I told Zach and Greg this. I was at a Walmart on Sunday. The Vikings were in town playing the Bucks, and I was in Walmart, late morning before the kickoff, and I saw a Vikings fan, and he was wearing a Vikings jersey. The nameplate on the back said 24, and the number was 7.
There's got to be a way to arrest that guy. We have to have like a uniform citizen's arrest. You're being charged with gross negligence.
Is that some sort of roundabout Adrian Peterson reference? Because his nickname was AD, which stands for all day.
If we have to think about it this much, it didn't work.
I legitimately think, not to stereotype football fans, but I think if you just go lowest common denominator, it's just simply he's a Vikings fan 24/7.
Right, that was my thought too, Mike. Exactly that.
Yeah. I mean, this was right up there with the Tampa Bay Lightning jersey I saw that said Yzerman 19. Like this only somehow this is worse because at least Steve Yzerman was an actual person associated with the Lightning at the time. So
wait, you mean there wasn't a guy in the Vikings that the last name was 24 who wore the number 7?
24/7. If that is such a stereotypical meathead NFL fan thing to do.
It really is.
It's Vikings 24/7. Woo!
There was an NFL jersey I saw one time. I forget the team. But the number was 69.
Oh, God.
And the name was butt sex, I think.
Oh, God.
That's brilliant. That's not, I don't, that's,
that's an I don't care who you are, that's funny sort of thing.
There's, I mean, in the original XFL where they could have, whatever they wanted on their nameplates, there was a guy on your still reigning and defending XFL champion, LA Extreme, who had the number 69 with the nameplate Big Daddy.
Oh, geez.
Yeah, that's good.
So,
Oh, God. Oh, there was at a Ducks game I think it was last year. Maybe 2 years ago. Anyway, it doesn't matter. There was a guy I saw, again, wearing a Ducks jersey, unfortunately. The number 69 and the name P-Whipped.
Oh, fuck's sake.
Yeah. I'm surprised they put the full word or just the word letter P.
The letter P.
Uh-huh.
And then space and then whipped.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
No, this was not a
You know,
Ben Shapiro keyword situation.
I would be willing to bet that the vast majority of the people that wear that number have never come close to even understanding what that number actually is. If you get my drift.
Can you just imagine being a person who works for like the NFL shops? I'm sure this is
I can't imagine that something like that gets through the NFL shop. I think you have to do that.
Yeah,
like somewhere off site. If you get
I mean, I'm sure they're all because I'm guessing what they do. The orders like gets very loosely screened and then sent off to somewhere in China or wherever they do the uniforms at where they're printed. But I just imagine where it's like, hey, Bill, we get some orders today. Yeah, another like 3,069 custom requests. Like, damn it, we need to order more 6s and more 9s. We're almost out. Again?
Doesn't the
you
NFL?
You just have to order a bunch of 6s though, and then you turn them upside down for the 9s.
Isn't it when you order a jersey though on one of the sites? I don't know if it's the NFL, MLB, but it says some name and number combinations are not available.
Sure. All of them do actually.
Okay.
All of them have that. But like, I think it's automated. Like they just have them. Programmed into the they just have like databases programmed in the site. So if you get creative enough to get around it, then you can get it made by the official site, because I don't think there's a human like screening it. I think it's all just automated. And if you can trick the computer with certain like letter combinations, then it just gets sent through. And
I will say, in recent years, more of the jerseys that I see like that, more often than not, are the Chinese counterfeit ones that you can pretty tell pretty easily.
Mm-hmm.
So like you can order anything from when your jersey's $10. So a little different.
Andy, you should share a couple of these in the
sure. Yeah, so I'm just looking through some. Boy. These are just there's intelligent.
I hate Fanatics. I hate talking about what Michael Walker said in the chat.
Here we go.
Yeah, Fanatics has killed sports merchandising.
So this is
okay. That's
oh my god!
Yeah.
How helmet head?
I don't.
Well, you see, he paints a helmet on his head.
Well, at least that guy's leaning into it the whole thing.
Yeah, this one's obviously somebody just wrote this on some cloth or something. I don't understand this.
What's it say?
Semen lover.
Semen lover.
Oh God!
This is the king, though. This guy here.
Masturb 8. Oh, there you go. Okay. So
Florida Panthers.
This guy, the Florida Panthers jersey that says Masturb and then number 8. This is a clear case of that guy was trying all sorts of combinations to get masturbate on the jersey, and it kept shooting. And the NHL shop kept spitting back like that name is denied, and eventually he landed on Masturb 8.
Okay, that the Brett Favre one there with the Iscariot is pretty funny. I think.
Yeah, that's
pretty good.
And there's of course an old couple, Bratwurst and Bun.
Oh, for fuck's sake! I
don't want to see that on like young, attractive people. Much
no,
less
especially not. Okay, Chaos Blast brings up one. It's funny. It was horrible, but still pretty funny. It was when the Patriots did the thing a few years ago. Remember that?
Oh yeah, it was like automated, like the 1 millionth person.
It was this horrible racist thing.
Yeah.
Wait, what was it?
But it was up there for like 15 minutes before someone took it down.
What's that say? Jack Bauer?
Jack Bauer, 24.
Oh, Jack
from
Bauer.
the TV
Jack
show.
Bauer.
Oh, that's pretty.
Scroll up. Is that a Keanu Reeves replacement jersey?
Yeah. That one's nice.
Yes.
See, I'm what I'm looking for, ones that are actually like,
Detroit's,
like actually clever. Like some of these just aren't clever. Like
I mean,
just kind of
sports fans, Andy, how convicted.
There's I did like the ones for a while there. Remember, it was you could like because I mean in the NFL shop, like you said, it has to go through a screener. But like for a while, people were ordering Ron Mexico jerseys after that happened.
Yeah,
and it took the NFL
a
while.
while.
Yeah, they finally like nip that in the bud. But yeah, so I mean, I do want to find some good ones here. I can't, I'm not going to sort through this while we're on the show, but I'll find some good ones. But that Masturbate Florida Panthers one, that may be my next board avatar. Like that's got to be in there. Like that's such a Florida thing.
That is like that man. That what? As much as we want to cry jersey fouls on a lot of this shit, Masturb 8, he gets a pass because he worked for that. And so,
I don't know why he worked so hard for that, but good for him.
These are the ones that I posted on Twitter when I saw them, and one of them is the one that I was talking about just now. And then there's another one that I had forgotten about, but this one's not as.
Oh,
this
there you
one's
go.
also just as bad.
Yeah, there it is.
Can we share that?
Yeah,
Yes.
here.
Oh God.
Yeah. So that's great.
These are the ones I'm talking about.
Check it out, man.
Oh God.
And he was walking around with his daughter. That's a
Yeah,
a young
it's
girl.
Are
It wasn't like a
you-
small. It
Okay,
wasn't
wait
like
a minute,
a
wait a
small
minute.
woman.
Wait a minute. The guy who has the RU18 jersey, is that a Sharks jersey?
No, I think it's the San Diego Gulls.
Okay.
It's got some piping on it that doesn't look
I
very.
believe-
He must just get all sorts
San
of
Diego
women with
Gulls.
that. Come on, right?
I hesitate to. I don't want to share my screen for that. I just found the Patriots thing, and I mean, it is the funniest damn thing. Like that is.
Awful, but it's hilarious.
I mean, it is remarkably offensive. But like the fact that the Patriots tweeted it out without even like a thought, it's just.
Well, it was a bot, right? It was just like, oh, we're just gonna tweet out
Yeah.
whoever our random 1 millionth follower is. Or
I
something.
can't believe they put that.
It was. I mean, again, you don't want to laugh at it, but I mean, fuck. Sometimes stuff's funny just because it's funny. And,
Yeah,
you know,
and the fact that it's, I think, again, I remember when this happened, it sat there for like 15 straight minutes before someone realized it and took it down. So,
Yeah. Well, it's just like it's clearly. I'm not laughing at like the slur. Obviously, I'm
No.
laughing at the fact that like 4chan or somebody like just played it. Just totally played it, or they just kind of got unfortunately lucky, and this confluence of events came about, and the bot that runs the account just spewed that up there. just I can't even.
I think it's even what makes it even better is that it happened to the Patriots.
Right.
The height of their run.
all the
Yeah.
franchises.
Yep.
Whew. Okay.
All right. So anyway, I've got a college football thing that I want to talk to Zach about, but we can do spin the wheel, make the deal first. And all that
I
if you
do.
want.
I have a college football thing I want to talk to you about, Greg.
Sure.
Oh, it might be the same thing. I bet. All right. We
All right,
ready?
so there's spin the wheels up here. So just to kind of update everyone on where things stand. So last week, by the way, looks like we were waiting on the Packers and Lions for Mike, and that was anyway. So Mike's leading the pack right now. He's 9-2. Greg 6-5. Zach
No,
is
the Packers beat the Lions yesterday.
Packers beat the Lions. Yes. Okay.
Tonight is Ravens Browns.
Okay, so yeah, so here's I'm sorry, I got mixed up. So last week we were waiting on Bills 49ers the result because
Right.
that was playing on Monday Football. Mike picked the Bills. He was correct. He moved to 8-2. So last week the results. This weekend, I'm sorry, Titans, Jags. Zach, you picked the Titans. You were correct. You moved to 6-4. I don't know why
Pretty
you're
easy
6-4 and Greg is 6-5. I don't know why that is, but math. I'll have to look back.
I find some chicanery in there, but I'll take my percentage point first place.
Yeah, I'm sure I just forgot to add.
Funny, when this thing started, I had more votes than Zach, and now I don't. How did that happen?
Yeah, Electoral College clearly is screwed
Right,
up.
obviously.
But Mike
My
far
lawyers
away
will
is
be
the
in
lead.
touch.
So Mike was right. So everyone was right except for Greg. So Greg, you chose the 49ers to beat the 32s, and 32s obviously defeated San
that was a shit game anyway. I don't know how do you pick that.
No.
But the
Anyway.
32s and the 49ers. That's a good matchup. They should go with that name.
So Zach, you were Packers. This is for Zach. He'll be choosing between the Panthers and the Packers.
Oh, Packers. I think that's a pretty easy one. Because the
Saturday.
Panthers lost to the Broncos this weekend. Like, yikes!
Saturday night. Well, yeah, it's funny what a team can do when it has an actual quarterback.
Exactly.
That's
And
a
this
Saturday
is-
night game.
That's right. The Saturday games start this week.
Yep.
We got two.
This is Mike. You'll be choosing very important game for the both teams, really. Bears at Vikings.
Bears. This is a tough one, actually.
Bears coming off a big win.
Bears are coming off a big win, but because I would need to rely on them, I'm going with the Vikings.
That's a smart choice.
I believe the Vikings beat the Bears the first time, right?
Yeah, so I got to go with the Vikings. Maybe Kirk Cousins. His mask conspiracy theory ass will spew COVID all over Khalil Mack and.
Ugh. This is for me. Jets at Rams. Well, that's a tough one.
Boy.
I will take the Rams.
God.
It's so funny. The Jets, like last week, it's like, oh, a plucky attempt. Maybe they'll do it this week, and then they're playing.
What was it, 40-3?
They're playing the Seahawks. They win up 3-0.
Hey,
and then it was 40-3.
well, no. Remember now, Sports Max.
Sportsmax, right? The Jets are undefeated.
Yeah, I don't get what's funny about that. Like I told you guys, I love Sports Max Ohio. Browns won 10 straight Super Bowls. Yeah, the Indians never lost to the Cubs. It's great. Okay.
And so this is Greg's. Bills at.
Oh, God.
That's an easy one, though.
I'll go with the Bills, but don't be surprised if the Broncos pull one out here. But
The Bills looked pretty damn good last night.
Yeah, they did. They did.
They won, right?
Bills all the way. Yep.
Before we swing off the NFL, we did mention it just to keep people abreast of the situation in our beloved NFC East.
Yeah.
Unfortunate is the term that I would use as Washington reached the 6-win plateau.
Yeah.
So if they win another game, which again they play, the Washington plays, they host Seattle, they host Carolina, and then they're finishing at the Eagles. Washington would need to go 0-3 to avoid.
Come on, come on.
7-9, we've seen it.
Yeah.
You know,
I feel we were robbed. This was.
Yeah.
You go 0-3 to finish at 6-10 and win that division. You've sold at least 2 more hats and T-shirts.
Well, if they go 0-3, they might not win the division, because here's the way it also works out for everybody else. The Eagles with new QB Jalen Hurts led them to a win yesterday, right?
Yep.
If the Eagles go 2-1 against Arizona, Dallas, or the football team, they would win the division at 5-9-1.
I think 5 wins.
That would be 6-9-1. So.
And I guess 6-10 is better, but we'll take 6-9, right?
If the Giants go 1-2 against Cleveland, Baltimore, or the Cowboys, then they would get to 6 wins. And all these others need the combination of Dallas goes 2-1 against the 49ers, Eagles, and Giants. They could also win the division at 6-10.
Well, what are we in week? What are we in week 15 or coming up?
14.
After tonight, 3 games left after this. Yeah.
Okay, so the Jets still have 3 more to play. They are currently at a -210, which I think that puts them in the 20s.
I told all of you this last week. Like after they were
a good 37-point loss.
It's like, I don't know. They pulled it close against the Raiders. Don't worry, they made up for that.
they have a long way to go. The 1990, the 2009 Rams were -261. That's probably doable.
What were the 08 Lions again?
Lions were, I don't know if they're even on this list. They're not even in the top 25 of point differential seasons, which is strictly what I'm going at here now.
Right. And the Jets, to just for your sake of calculating these, it's possible, because they play the Rams this week, who the Rams could certainly beat them by 30 or more. The Rams could also only beat them by 10. That's just the way the Rams work.
Yeah.
Then they host the Browns the next week, which again could be 30 points, could be
or 10.
3.
Yeah, or 3. Yeah. Or they could win.
And then they finish at the Patriots.
Greg, so help me God, if the Browns ruin this.
Dude, nothing I can do about it. Believe me.
Yeah, they've got.
I can do is sit here and be nervous about it. That's it.
They could be, I'd be impressed. I think they should aim for top 5. I don't think they're going to get to the elite echelon of the Baltimore Colts from 1981 with -274, or the 76 Bucks, which were -287 and played only 14 games. So the Jets, while incompetent, will probably make a good, make their place in this like Mount Rushmore of just dog shit teams.
Well, they're probably not gonna get the the point differential, but as long as they go 0-16, I feel like something's been accomplished for them.
Something like that. Yeah.
So they're at 210, and they need to finish at, what did you say, 280?
287 is the
287
record,
is a record, yeah.
for the
That's a
76
lot.
bucks.
So that's what, 67 points?
They need,
No, 77
they
points.
need 76 points. So
That's only about 25 a game, right?
what you really need, you need the Rams to run up the score this weekend. If the Rams can finally start hitting their stride at the right time here, going to the playoffs, which I would love to see, of course, that could go a long way into getting them into those upper echelons. If we get like another 30-point dredging, another 37-point, 40-point beatdown.
Well, so just to put it up here, the 2009 Lions, which I believe were 0-16. Let me see. I
It
don't
was
know.
the 08 Lions who were 0-16.
Okay. Well, the following year they were minus 232. So I'm looking at modern records here. So that's 2009. I think the 2000 Cleveland Browns were minus 258. The 2009 Rams were minus 261. So there's some possibilities.
The 99 Browns, I can't believe they're not on there. That team was so bad the first year they came back. They were
minus
exciting.
220.
It was exciting to watch them get a first down. Like, hey, they got a first down. All right.
They were.
Wasn't that the year? I have distinct memories watching this game. I think it was against Kansas City that first year, where like they would have won, but one of their players took their helmet off before the end.
No, that was the year they actually made the playoffs. I think that happened.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Courtney
Dwayne
Brown.
Bowe. I'll never forget. It was like it was just such a Browns thing to do. But speaking of my Browns guys, prime time 2 weeks in a row, because to prove how screwed up 2020 really is, the Dallas Cowboys and San Francisco 49ers got flexed out on Sunday Night Football for my Cleveland Browns and the New York Football Giants.
Which
How about that?
is kind of incredible that the Giants are the ones that are also in this game too.
Yeah.
Considering the year. I mean, hell, last week it was only the second time that Sunday Night Football in the 15 years they've had the package on NBC that Sunday Night Football went to Buffalo, which is kind of wild.
Yeah.
And then the Bills ruined it by wearing mono red.
Oh, another little bit of great looking game, but nope.
No.
But yeah, so the Browns tonight against the Ravens, which if they get a win, they're only a game behind Pittsburgh, and all of a sudden things are getting interesting.
Pittsburgh on a bit of a slide.
A little bit. Well, when you played like 8 games in 4 days, that's going to happen. Yeah, or 4 games in 8 days, or whatever they did.
8 games in 4 days would be impressive.
Be damn impressive, right? Shit, if they went 500 in 8 games in 4 days, that would be pretty good. But yeah, they played. I think they've played realistically like 3 games in 11 days or something like that. It's been a lot, so I don't know where that leaves them. But yeah. Well, yeah, the NFL wasn't really terribly exciting yesterday. I mean, not much happened.
No, we're say next week, things will really start to fall in perspective. There's like 7 or 8 teams in the NFC that are on the bubble.
Mm-hmm.
There's only 4 in the AFC. So I mean, as we get closer to the end, obviously things will get infinitely more interesting. But right now we're just kind of in the. It doesn't make football any less enjoyable or whatever, but it's just kind of like, let's get a move on here and get to the.
This was a week where I was thoroughly like pleased with how the week went, because the Rams got to play on Thursday, and they had just probably the most stressless game they've played under Sean McVay, which is incredible to think about. But it was like an easy win. They beat the Patriots. I was very satisfied. Get revenge for the Super Bowl. It's not getting revenge for the Super Bowl, but it still makes you feel good. And then, because the game was done and I felt good about my team, when on Sunday it's like, I don't really have to pay attention today. So I did other stuff. I relaxed. I didn't pay attention to football. It was kind of nice.
Yeah. And I got to see if my Browns can hang tough with the Ravens tonight, and who knows?
Yeah, the Paul Brown Bowl.
Yeah, it's the Cleveland Browns versus the Cleveland Browns.
The Art Modell Bowl, I should say.
The Art Modell Bowl. There you go.
But Greg, what did you want to talk about college football? Because I have a very specific complaint addressed towards your direction.
Okay, because it might be the same complaint I have. So go ahead. Let's see if you're right. If I'm right.
Why the hell? Fuck the Big Ten.
We're right on the same page. Yep.
So before the season, the Big Ten has a rule where if you don't play 6 games, you're ineligible for the conference championship game.
Except when you can't play 6 games, and of course they changed the rules because you're the biggest program in the conference.
Except if you're Ohio State and you're in position to make the college football playoff,
which is bullshit in itself, if you ask me. But that's another. If we want to get into that,
right? Which So poor Indiana sits there because Ohio State's game versus Michigan gets canceled, and so Indiana at 6-1 is like, hey, we've played 7 games. We're 6-1. Our only loss is to Ohio State. We might just be going to the Big Ten championship game. Look at us. Until the Big Ten votes otherwise and says, we like money, and just lets Ohio State waltz in because they're Ohio State. They get preferential treatment.
And they're 5-0.
Yeah, which is funny because you look at the college football playoff standings. Alabama and Notre Dame are 1-2, and they're both 10-0. And Ohio State is nestled in behind Clemson at 5-0, and they're number 4. 5-0. And USC, who is also 5-0, now the Pac-12 is a little bit down, but USC, still a big program, still in a big conference, 5-0. They're all the way back at number 15. And yes, they started late, but Ohio State had, 2 or 3 games canceled due to COVID? And
Yeah.
SC's had, I think, 1 canceled due to COVID?
Why
But-
can't I find the damn rankings here? Oh, here we
I don't
go.
know. They're really hard to find this year, even when I Google it. It's kind of
There we go. But no, here's my thing with Ohio State, okay? You got Alabama 10-0, Notre Dame 10-0, Clemson 9-1, Texas A&M 7-1, Cincinnati 8-0, Iowa State, Coastal Carolina 11-0, and then there's the Buckeyes at 5-0 in the 4th spot.
Mhm.
Now that just to me seems like bullshit. I'm sorry. I know that I'm an Ohio State fan and all that stuff, but come on. You got to do more than play 5 games to get in the college football playoffs. That's just the way I see it.
Well, and really the only reason that the Big Ten came back when it did is because Ohio State pressured them, saying, like, we have a chance to win a national championship, and if we don't start soon enough, we will be stuck where USC is, way at the back, because we didn't start early enough. But they did start early enough, and despite them having less games played, they still have the same amount of games played as SC, and yet there's 11 spots difference between the two.
See, I think that
it's very clear that, like, again, not that this is breaking news or anything, but, like, money still runs college football.
oh yeah.
And
I mean, I don't think Coastal Carolina is realistically the 3rd best team in the country, but they are 11-0.
they're 11-0, and they have a couple pretty decent wins over some ranked teams like BYU and I forget who else, but Coastal Carolina, not a pushover team.
No,
They
and
should be higher than 13, but especially when, like we mentioned, all these teams that have games can't, like, I understand it's a different time because you're in the pandemic and maybe you don't punish teams for necessarily getting a disease that is spread worldwide, but, like, if you're not running your program in a
because
way,
they didn't get it either, is what I'm
Right.
saying. Yeah.
if you're running your program in a way where you're susceptible to having as many games canceled as some of these teams have, you don't get to be rewarded for that. And somehow we still are.
No, I mean, Alabama, Notre Dame, okay, no argument there. They're both 10-0. They've played 10 games. Good enough. Clemson, 9-1. That's 10 games. Good enough. Okay.
Clemson 9-1, and they're 1 loss to Notre Dame in a tight game. With their back and
You
forth.
want to make an argument for Texas A&M or Cincinnati, fine, but I think I think to me you've got enough teams on here with 10 games played, or even if you want to give them a little bit of slack and say, okay, 9 or more, you've got enough to put together a pretty good playoff. But the problem is that if you go with the best records, you've got to put Coastal Carolina ahead of Ohio State because they're 11-0 versus 5-0, which is 5-0. That's a Buckeyes record in like mid-September or the early October, for fuck's sake. It's not playoff caliber. It's just wrong to me. I just don't like it. They're going to get in because they're Ohio State, and they're the 800-pound gorilla in the room when it comes to this stuff. But it's nonsense.
Yeah.
And not only that, but don't you think they've got an unfair advantage too, having only played 5 games? They're not nearly as beat up as everybody else.
Sure. And as Michael Walker pointed out, like when I was trying to say why is USC so low, USC has no wins against the ranked team. That's also not USC's fault, especially this year where you're relegated to only playing in your conference unless you're, like BYU where they're like scheduling these things on the fly when games get canceled and whatever. So like the fact that everyone's only playing against their own conference for the most part, like I can't knock anybody for their schedule this year because they can only play what's in front of them. And like what a team like USC, who is still, the Pac-12 has been down, but they're ostensibly a Power 5 conference,
right?
Like they're not going to get anywhere close to the same shot that Ohio State is getting, or that any of the other teams in front of them are getting. They're even and now they're going to be playing. USC has its own COVID thing going on. Where not for them, but they were going to play Washington in the Pac-12 title game. Washington had too many COVID cases, so they have to not play the Pac-12 title game. Now they're going to play Oregon, who's a beat up team as well.
See, my thing is this: it's like, look, it is not the SEC or the ACC's fault, or I don't know if BYU is independent, if they play in a conference anymore, Mountain West. If not,
yeah.
I don't know where the Coastal Carolina Chandeliers play, but
the Chanticleers,
right? But I don't know what conference they're in. But the point is that it's not their fault that you fucked around and didn't start until the middle of October. Yeah, and they should not be punished for that. And I understand. I'm with you. It's a weird season, but it's not that weird. It's not so weird that teams with 5 wins should be getting in over teams with 11. That is just wrong to me. Yeah. Coastal Carolina's gone out and done their thing. A&M's gone out and done their thing, even at only 8 games. Clemson 9-1. Everybody else. Florida 8-2. Georgia 7-2. Come on now. BYU at 10-1. No, I'm sorry, Ohio State. And sorry, USC too. But 5 wins aren't going to get you there. It wouldn't in any other season, so it shouldn't now either.
It's better. At least Ohio State is going to be able to play in the Big Ten title game and win one more time.
Okay, that's still not enough.
Well, I know, but what I'm saying is, had they not been able to play the Big Ten title game for some reason, and
I don't know the rule that they had to play 6 games.
Well, right. But what I'm saying is, if they didn't play and they still finished the season 5-0 and they were still the number 4 spot, there's a very, very plausible scenario where no matter what the hell happened behind them, they would still get put into the college football playoff, despite not playing in the conference title game, despite not winning the conference, and despite only playing 5 football games.
Which I think is nonsense.
Which would have been absolute nonsense. You're right.
Yeah, I really think that you've got – now, I don't know what the NCAA decided before this whole thing started, the College Football Playoff Committee decided, but someone should have thought this through because, again, a 5-0 Ohio State team who may be very, very good. They might be the best of the bunch. We don't know. But they come in. They haven't had 10 games worth of getting banged up. They haven't had all that. They're healthier, which I think at this point in a season, when you get into January, that's the biggest benefit you can have is that you're healthier than everybody else. Don't you think?
Yeah. I mean, there's some teams like Wisconsin had 3 or 4 games canceled. Yeah. And I think they only have 4 games played on the season, which is also insane.
Oh yeah.
The only other thing that I want to bring up from college before we get off it, because I know we're going for a bit. The Florida State or the Florida Gators they had a shot to make the playoff. They kind of did, and then they got upset at home by LSU because after Florida stopped LSU, I think it was on a 4th down. one of the guys who tackled the LSU player short. When he tackled him, he somehow grabbed his shoe, and to celebrate, he then hurled the shoe as far as he could, which gave Florida an unsportsmanlike conduct penalty, which gave LSU a 1st down, which LSU then went down the field and scored on and won the game.
That's just karma, Yeah. I mean,
good job.
It's sad and funny, and I can't even imagine the locker room after that game. It's kind of like what Greg said earlier with the Browns helmet throw guy, where you find a fascinating new way to lose a game. That's just what do you even do after that? To me, if you're that guy, the shoe thrower dude, you just you just kind of get in your car and keep driving, starting a new life somewhere. Football is not part of the equation anymore. You just kind of disappear because you found a magical new way to be a fuck up.
You just, you disappear somewhere and you become an insurance salesman. And
one other thing really quick on college football too, and Andy and I talked about this a little bit earlier in the week. Michigan, for all of you Ohio State fans out there, and for those of you that just follow college football, the Michigan Wolverines did not chicken out of this game. They did not decide that they were going to screw Ohio State and keep them out of the playoff.
I can't believe people are still trying to make these arguments, because people did that for the Steelers-Ravens game back on Thanksgiving too. It's how can you think that? They
had 40, as far as last I checked, they had 40 COVID positive cases on their team. Okay. Yeah. They were not allowed to practice. That was the school had imposed that. It wasn't the team. They're like, you can't practice. You've got way too much spread going on. And anybody that really is involved in this rivalry that understands it knows that Michigan would never do that unless they had no other choice. It's that simple. So you can believe what you want to believe, that they chickened out, they're trying to screw Ohio State and all that. But if you believe that, you don't get this rivalry at all. And I'm not trying to make it more important than it actually is, but Michigan is too classy to go, hey, you know what? We can really fuck these guys if we don't play the game. That's not the way they roll up there. It's just not.
And in Ohio State too, like, this is again another reason maybe that they shouldn't be allowed to play in the Big Ten title game. This is a program that had 30 guys that had COVID like last week, including their head coach.
Ohio State did?
Yeah.
Well, I think that, you know, if Indiana's got a better record, they should be getting. How did Northwestern get into this thing all of a sudden?
Well, they won their games.
All right. Well, look, if you ask me, it's cute that the Big Ten has tried to do this, and it was pretty much, I think, an unmitigated disaster so far. So that's their problem, and I don't know why the Chanticleers of Coastal Carolina or the BYU Cougars are getting screwed at the expense of Ohio State that's going to show up with 5 wins.
Or
Go
hell.
Chandeliers.
No Chandeliers. That's
Or
right.
hell. I want to, and while we're here, just to close it out, I want to give a huge ass shout out to Iowa, friggin' State of all teams. They're going to play in the Big 10 or the Big 12 title game. I think they're on track to win the Big 12, and they beat Oklahoma and Texas in the first season, in the same season for the first time in program history, which is kind of incredible.
Well, Cyclones, baby.
They're number 7 in the country. They're 8-2. If
Another-
they win the Big Damn 12. Let them in over Ohio State. This is nonsense.
That's what I mean. I mean, if this playoff is really about the maybe not the best teams. I don't know though. You're right though. It's the money, and you have a tough time arguing that the Chandeliers are better than the Buckeyes, because let's be honest, they're not. We all know it. But it's also about, you got to earn your way in. You don't get to throw on the scarlet and gray and go, well, here we are. No, fuck that. I mean, I'm an Ohio State fan. You know, I would love another national championship, but if they win this one, I'm leaving it under the bench with that fucking stupid Civil War Connecticut thing trophy right alongside it. No way, I don't even want it. You know?
Oh, you mean the one that's holding up some redneck's car in Central Florida?
Right, exactly that one.
and again, one last complaint, and I'm done. We go through one of the craziest seasons that we've had because of the COVID and because of all this, and college football is in a weird place. But yet, at the end of the day, number 1 Alabama, number 2 Notre Dame, number 3 Clemson, number 4 Ohio State.
Yeah.
The 4 teams really of the college football playoff era.
It's really
disgusting.
It's really kind of become the NBA in that respect, where you're going to have all these teams playing out and blah blah blah, and then at the end of the day, it's going to be it's the Lakers and whoever. Yeah.
Iowa State is going to have its season of a century. It's going to win the Big 12, and they're not even going to really be
relevant.
Well, they'll make the one of those New Year's 6 bowl games or whatever, but they won't be truly considered for the playoff.
No, but I tell you what, every time somebody stuck a microphone in my face, I'd be like, why the fuck aren't we there? And 5-win Ohio State is. I would do that. I really would. Anyway, you guys want to get to the scores from the first round of the ignominious tournament victory?
Do it.
Disgrace. First off, to those of you that wonder why I bitch about the audience sometimes, this is why.
Oh no, what happened?
two brackets. I couldn't have made it more clear. 2 brackets to vote in, the left bracket and the right bracket, because SurveyMonkey will not let you do a 16-question poll unless you pay money for it. So I made 2 brackets. I clearly labeled IGT left bracket, IGT right bracket, and still somehow, despite all of this, where I put it up everywhere, we still came away with one bracket having 5 more votes than the other one did, which means 5 of you.
It happens every time.
5 of you could not figure out how to vote in 2 brackets. I'm just saying.
Oh, they mean
Oh,
well.
Gregory.
So, Greg, I've got the bracket up here.
Okay.
If you want to go ahead and share it here, I'll mark out the teams that are
right,
the
here we go.
representatives of 2020 that are no more.
All right, here we go. From the left bracket, number 1 overall. Well, we're not going to do seeding really, but COVID-19 quackery and quackery and snake oil takes on Rudy Gobert touches mics and in sports. Final score in that one: Rudy Gobert touches mics and in sports, wins 15-13.
Ooh,
so long COVID quackery.
Well, that's a good tight matchup though.
It's an upset, I think, a little bit.
Yeah. Again,
right.
I think that's one that could have been more like properly defined. But you know.
Yeah, well, as I was watching the votes, the COVID quackery had the lead a long time, and then Rudy Gobert came back strong. So,
Okay.
Up to the next match, Tiger King versus Murder Hornets. Anybody want to take a guess?
Gotta be
Tiger King, I think.
Tiger King, easy, 19-9, no problem. A walk, yeah. you knew Tiger King was going to be a tough out in this thing. One of my favorite matchups of the whole thing: Four Seasons Total Landscaping versus Tyrod Taylor's lung punctured by Chargers doctor.
Jesus.
Sorry.
Not as tight as you would think it would be. Tyrod Taylor put up a good fight, but in the end, it was the Four Seasons Total Landscaping 18-10.
Yeah,
Well, that's fair, I guess.
that's the right result.
That would have been my vote. Yeah.
I mean, that might be the.
Or wait, hold on.
greatest-
What? Am I? Sorry, I spaced for a second. Wait, we just lost Tiger King?
No. Tiger King won easily, 19-9.
Okay,
over
yeah,
Warhorn.
I definitely spaced. My bad. Total
No,
landscaping.
Four Seasons Total Landscaping beat Tyrod Taylor's lung punctured by
Right.
his team doctor. Yeah.
Sorry, I was reading something, and you know when you're reading, you hear
Right.
noise, but you're not listening to it.
Yeah.
That's what happened. My bad.
Okay, up next, which is more 20. This was a really close match, and it went back and forth for a while. Hashtag hijackings versus Chinese Duck Army.
Ooh.
Really close match in this one, and it was going back and forth all the way till the end.
Yeah, that seems about right. I think these are a level opponents.
Well, the winner and moving on to the second round will be Chinese Duck Army by a score of 15-13. Which
Ooh.
that was a strong comeback by the Chinese Duck Army. They picked up the votes like in the last day.
Interesting.
Okay, matchup number 5. Pentagon admits UFOs are real and no one cares versus Lou Williams Strip Club Food Run. Another one of my favorite matchups. Just so perfectly 2020 this. But not much of a match in this one.
I gotta go with the UFOs. Come on,
Yeah.
UFOs.
Biggest win of the round so far, 23-5.
Damn.
The UFOs are real and no one cares. Takes out Lou Williams in the Strip Club Food Run.
All right.
This one, I was surprised that it was as big a blowout as it is. Washington football team versus gender reveal wildfires.
If it was up to me, being the czar of these things, right?
Yeah. You would. I didn't hear you. What'd you say?
Sorry, gender reveal wildfire is what I would give it to.
And you
won,
and everybody else. It was not even close. 24-4. Gender reveal wildfires takes out the Washington football team.
We mentioned our love for football team today. But
Gender reveal
wildfires.
Gender reveal wildfires, I feel, is so perfectly 2020 because it's a it's a natural disaster with the most idiotic cause.
Yes.
Yeah.
If you remember, I think I had gender reveals gone wrong in the GTOV last year, or this last GTOV. So
Did
gender
you?
reveal, gender reveals have got to go. It's got to stop.
Yeah.
All right.
Tall order.
Up next, game number 7. Running out of names for all the hurricanes versus COVID restaurant inhabitant. I like the COVID restaurant inhabitant, but
Yeah. It was a long shot.
wasn't to be. 19-9. Running out of names for all the hurricanes takes the win. And finally, to wrap up the left bracket, one of my favorite matchups of the whole damn thing: Mall Santa proselytizers versus African Hitler.
Oh,
That's
boy.
a tough call.
I gotta go with African Hitler. I think African Hitler has a certain cult following that.
Who was it on the boards that said, "I can't believe I'm voting for Hitler" or something? But here we are.
Yep.
It was African Hitler in a relatively close one, 17-11, to take the win. So
So
Andy,
it's gonna be Rudy Gobert's Mike Touching versus Tiger King.
ooh,
Four Seasons Total Landscaping will take on the Chinese Duck Army. UFOs being real to little fanfare against the gender reveal wildfires.
ooh, that's a tough matchup.
Yeah, it's rough. And hurricane names going against African Hitler.
I think African Hitler could run the table here.
I just want to say that you can say what you want about this show, but we have the best fucking tournaments of any podcast in the world. Simple as that. I will not even debate it. All right. Moving on to the right bracket. Ooh.
Alrighty, let's
Boy,
do
this
it.
is a tight one. Tightest match of the whole thing so far. You ready? Me Too. Hashtag Me Too Bin taking on airplane toilet liquor. COVID challenge.
Oh.
I want to believe the toilet liquor is up there because that's just a great.
Like, if 2020 had a mascot, I think it would be a social media influencer licking a toilet seat to get COVID.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, like, that would be that's
That's
where
who
I
I've got to
my
throw my
money.
support
Yeah.
behind too. Yeah.
Well, Me Too been put up a great fight, but loses by 17-16.
Oh, right.
Airplane
Wow.
Toilet Liquor COVID challenge takes the win.
Wow, I'm surprised that was that tight. But as we mentioned, the Me Too is representative of the larger Zoom culture that we've lived in for 9 months now.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
This
Match
endless
literally-
nightmare that we're all trying to
Nine and a
pantomime
half
our way through.
9.5 months ago, nobody knew what a Zoom was. Now here we are.
God.
No, we didn't know. All right. What am I at to? Number 2. Mr. Peanut's planned death versus KFC ends finger looking good because of COVID.
So, 2 things with this. One, I did see the holiday Mr. Peanut ad, and clearly no longer a child.
So they've just given up on it.
Yeah,
Right.
he's back to being like regular Peanut. And then the KFC movie played over the weekend with Mario Lopez.
Yes.
So, Recipe for Seduction.
What was it? Seductive recipes or
A recipe for seduction. Yeah.
a recipe for seduction?
Anybody catch any?
I did not.
I was
did.
going to, but
I could not bring myself to actually turn the television to Lifetime. So
It's
Yeah,
a commercial. I mean, it's ultimately it's what it is.
I just couldn't handle something that serious, so I watched The Godfather instead. I wanted a little comedy and lightheartedness in my film. Did I give the score on this yet?
No, I'm still
Okay.
waiting.
KFC with the win. Ends finger looking good because of COVID. 18-15.
Huh?
Mr. Peanut performing better than I thought he would,
Yeah.
but dying nonetheless.
All right.
Okay.
God.
Matchup number 3. Pence Fly taking on South Korea uses sex dolls to replace fans.
Pence Fly won easy, right? Like,
it's got to be Pence Fly.
Nope. South
What?
Korea sex dolls 23-10.
How?
I am floored. Kind of floored by that one. I thought Pence Fly was like an easy walk to the Final Four.
I think the
Wow.
South Korea use the sex dolls just seemed more 2020 to people because that's just so fucked up.
Maybe.
The
But
Pence Fly.
Pence Fly, like
Pence Fly was a
actually,
moment.
Pence Fly took over like an entire evening, like
Yeah.
on Twitter.
I
So,
think that fly. I think he just got caught in the hairspray and couldn't get out. That's what happened. Probably
Mike Pence
was there
doesn't
20 minutes
use
working on an escape plan.
Mike Pence doesn't use product. It's too gay for him.
Wow. Okay. Where are we at here? Okay.
Michigan versus Coffin
Michigan
Dance
Loons
Cops.
attempt State House takeover versus COVID Coffin Dance Cops. Pretty close match.
I gotta go with the COVID coffin dance cops because that's just Zach has said it before. It's like the meme of 2020. Like
That would have been my vote too. Zach, you
Yeah.
got a thought?
No, that's same.
Well, I hate to break it to you guys, but lunacy trumps memes, I guess, because the Michigan Loons attempting to take the State House over won 19-14 in this.
You know what? Between the Pence Fly losing and the Michigan
I think we should have an investigation.
Crazies winning, yeah, something tells me that the wrong side of the internet found this.
I have affidavits from 35 people, all drunk, who say that this is bullshit. So we will
no,
get into that.
here's how crazy the Michigan Loons got low. Like, so today they did the
Electoral
electoral
college, yeah.
right? Well, they had to completely close off the Michigan State House to like everyone but the electors and the people recording the electoral votes because some Republican in Michigan's state legislature was like, I'm leading a protest and there might be violence.
Oh my God. No, it's yeah, I mean, we like to make fun of this stuff, and it is funny. I don't get me wrong, but this shit's making me a little nervous. Some of the stuff that's happening right now. I got to be honest, it really is. Anyway, the Michigan Loons win because, of course, they did 19-14. So they will move on.
This is important now, Greg. This is the vasectomy baboon and his wives. If that lost to the Tampa Bay Lightning, I'm going to be mad. I'm not going to be pleased.
To be fair, it was a Tampa Bay Lightning COVID Cup party. So
Well, we can all rest easy. The Vasectomy Baboon and his two wives won with the biggest margin of the entire tournament so far, 25-8.
Damn. All right. Very good.
Interesting.
This,
Impressive.
I'm telling you, Vasectomy Baboon, I got to think is the front runner in this thing.
Yeah, I think
We can only hope.
part of me has some sort of worry that might have too much GTOV DNA.
Yeah,
Right.
It might be a little too wild for even what the 2020 tournament is.
Well,
So-
you know what? If he goes that, we'll bring him back for the GTOV and let him take another crack at it.
I'd be okay
Yeah.
with that.
Yeah. No, of
I think
course.
a few of
Like,
these
it's
would be-
fine. I just hope that some truly 2020 entry does not go down, just because this is like
It's funny.
just too
But look-
funny to.
But look at
deal
it this
with.
way: if this baboon wins this tournament and the GTOV, then it's like the two wives that he ran away with.
Yeah,
Two wives, two tournament belts.
he will go down in basically a sports show history if he wins both of these
It's like
tournaments.
it's like, well, I was gonna say it's like how the Astros are the only team to win both pennants, but then I realized that they cheated to win one, so fuck them.
Well, you never know. Baboon might be cheating too. You just don't know.
We do
Baboon's got one of the wives banging
I-
the trash can.
I will take this time to point out we do use Survey Monkey.
Ah,
Survey Monkey.
and in rare case, well, this is an actual monkey and not a primate. So yeah,
True.
Yep.
I'm.
Are baboons primates? I'm not sure.
I'm
Depends. Do they have tails?
apes don't have tails. Monkeys
Apes don't have-
do,
yeah.
but they're
Oh,
both
well, unless you're French, because in French the word for monkey and ape is the same thing.
Okay,
Well,
close enough. Well, then good.
let me just say that I'm keeping my eye on this baboon. I don't trust it.
Well, the baboon, I think we should, you know what, just because we want to see if he can do it. If he wins this one, I think he gets automatic entry into the GTOV. Just to see if he can do it again. All right, there we go.
Baboon is a monkey, by the way.
Okay.
Yes.
Finally, matchup number 6 on the, was this the right bracket I think we're on now?
Right bracket, yes.
Krasinski, SGN Sellout, some good news Sellout versus Absurd Do-It-Yourself PPE, personal protective equipment.
I'm
No, I
guessing
take
the
that back.
DIY.
This was the biggest blowout in the first round.
I'm guessing not enough people really followed the Some Good News thing,
Yeah.
and more people have experienced the DIY stuff. I'm guessing that one in a
Yeah, it
blowout.
won big, 29-4.
Okay, which makes sense.
Absolute stomping.
My
This-
objections were well founded. It seems
Sorry. Zach.
it's okay.
Matchup number 7, a good one. Discovery of alternate universe for time travels backward and no one cares versus the Broncos have to start a wide receiver at quarterback.
I gotta
What
go
a
with
Peter
Broncos.
ridiculous matchup.
These are two quite 2020 things. I love this matchup. This is good.
I just like. I mean, like this. That's a sentence that's never been heard before.
No,
You know, like
my
And people
legacy
seem
will
to-
be that I spoke something for the first time in the history of the English language.
the discovery of a universe where time goes backwards versus a practice squad wide receiver being made the quarterback of the Denver Broncos. Like what?
That's
What?
also such a perfectly Denver Broncos thing. If I may remind you all of the classic Simpsons gag, the Denver Broncos.
This is a great matchup for this tournament. This really kind of sums it all up, if you ask me.
Mm.
Was it close?
It was close, yes, very.
I'm gonna guess the Broncos
I'm
was the
gonna guess
winner.
I'm gonna guess the Broncos too, because we do have a sports base, fan base, so that might win.
Zach?
Well, the sports thing didn't help the Lightning, especially on a board that does skew hockey.
Yeah.
So I think I got to go.
Well, that
go
was
the other
against Baboon Chimp or Vasectomy Baboon.
Yeah, I'm gonna go off path. I'm gonna say the backwards universe.
I would say that too, and that would have been my vote. But again, because you can't trust these fucking people to get anything right, no, the Broncos quarterback wins in a very close one, 18-15.
Okay.
Well, I'm very disappointed in that one. I'm so disappointed.
I'm not
Yeah.
so disappointed. It maybe is not the one I wanted, but as Zach said, these were two perfectly good 2020 happenings. So you know what? I'm happy. You know
What was the final margin?
18-15.
That's
Okay,
close.
so not that bad.
Yeah, I know. I think too that the discovery of the alternate universe in which time travels backwards is not. It doesn't roll off the tongue very well. It wasn't like hardly anybody knew about it. So yeah, I can see the Broncos thing, us being the sports show and all. All right, fine, but I'm still disappointed in the listeners, as I always am. And you guys
Burn
know
to
I'm just kidding when I say that stuff. I hope the listeners. I'm not serious about that. Maybe
You
a
should
little
hear
bit.
what he says about you all off mic.
And finally, wrapping up round 1 of the ignominious tournament of disgrace, Rise of the Karens versus COVID black market scammers.
Gotta be Karen's.
Karen.
Blew him out.
Again, this is a good matchup, but I think it's Karen's. That's where
Karens
I'm
all
gonna
the
go.
way, 22-11, not even close.
Cool.
There you go. So that's the first round in the tournament, and
So we'll have airplane toilet liquor going against KFC dropping finger licking good. That's kind of weird. That's a weird matchup there.
That's,
Yeah, that's pretty salient.
a lot of licking involved in that one.
We have South Korean sex dolls going against Michigan Michigan Lunatics. That'll be.
wait a minute, that could turn ugly fast.
It's ugly already. It's just
What I'm saying is that you get these Michigan loons. Let's be honest about it; they're probably not hooking up a lot, and the Korean
No.
sex dolls might just. It's going to be wild. You want to watch that one, folks?
We'll have the vasectomy baboon and his wives taking on absurd DIY personal protection equipment. I don't think it's going to be close. I think that vasectomy baboon is on a fast track to the final. And Denver Broncos practice squad wide receiver quarterback will take on the Rise of the Karens. The final match.
Do you think?
All right.
Do you think the Karens could take out the baboon?
Oh.
No.
I think that's the only one that has a real shot at taking it out before the final.
Mm.
Yeah, I don't think so. I think that the Karens thing, it'll be close. It'll probably be the only one of that side of the tournament to make it close. But I really think that I think it'll probably be Tiger King Baboon in the end.
Which again, a perfectly fine matchup
Yeah.
on its
Yeah.
own.
Yeah, we'll have to. It's going to be interesting. Like, I think this is really going to impact the GTOV as far as like, has it emptied the coffers a little bit for that?
I don't think so.
No, because I forget who
you guys hoard them during the year.
I've got I've got 11 entries ready to go for the glorious
Wow.
tournament of victory.
Also, remember too, Andy, that we get to make up entries for the GTOV. This had to be stuff that was called from the news, basically. So,
Good point. Yep.
It's pulled straight from the headlines.
Yeah,
Plus, this tournament won't take into account anything that happens the rest of December or January, February.
no, I think somebody
Even,
was it Cosmic posted in the nominations thread. There were like 5 new entries that could have made this tournament easily. Happened in the last week.
God.
Like, what was his name? The dude that died and then tweeted after he died that COVID wasn't so bad. I can't think of his name now.
I don't know. I don't have the thread handy.
Was it Ben Kane? No,
Herman Cain, maybe.
Herman Cain.
Yeah, Herman
Yeah.
Cain.
And I my point was, this guy tweeted after he died, and we're focusing on what he died of. I think the bigger scoop was that he tweeted after he was dead, but 2020 for it. Anyway. Oh yeah, well, without a doubt, Cast Blast. I already have 12-foot Davis for the GTOV. I already called him. He's in.
Keep in mind 12-foot Davis from the always strong weird Canadian prairie shit conference.
straight from the same cut of cloth as the Sacred Moose Leg of Flin Flon, Manitoba.
And the Manitoba goalie beer thief. You can always count on the Canadian prairies to provide some strong GTOV entries.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I'm excited for. I got a couple entries in my pocket here. I don't probably have as many as you guys have hoarded, but I haven't really started gathering them quite formally.
I have the problem of that'd be a great GTOV entry, and then I just never write it down. So
see, I've got a Word doc on my desktop which is GTOV 2021, and so I'm just scribbling them down as they happen.
And I think if you go through the Bass thread on the board, there's been, I don't know, over the course of the year, people have been dropping in ideas for
right
out there to work. I do like about this tournament. I like not seeding anything. It really makes the matchups far more interesting, I think, because you can't rig it to like make sure that certain things get to a certain place.
What I like about this tournament, right, is its purity. It is distilled from the single events of a horrible, horrible year. And God willing, 2021 will not be shit enough that we feel compelled to do this again. So hopefully this is a once in a lifetime thing. So whoever wins this will be the only disgraceful champion.
We hope.
Hopefully. Again, hopefully.
To kind of round out things, speaking of disgraces and sports, there was a report yesterday that the NHL is trying to negotiate a privately purchased lot of COVID vaccines to give to its players before the season would start.
Mm-hmm.
What do we think about that?
I think as long as they're not cutting in front of line for people that need it.
I think by buying about batches for professional athletes, I think that would be jumping several lines.
No, I don't like it.
But the thing is, though, the NHL they are not the only ones. I mean, I would not be surprised if the NFL is actually already like negotiating.
Roger Goodell said today that they're not going to do that.
I don't give a shit what he says. I feel like there's no question. Maybe it's not even a league wide thing. It may be something like, maybe Jerry Jones is working on. Individual teams might be just like trying to. The NFL, the NHL, these sports organizations, they're not.
Well, we just lost Andy.
Bye, Andy.
Well, it was making a good point.
I was gonna say it would be.
He's back. Go ahead, Andy. Pick up where you left off.
I think the drone came to snipe my internet.
The Dan Snyder
drone.
Let me just.
Snyder drone is like.
The NFL is good. The NFL is great. But yeah, I pretty much came to. We're going to see more and larger examples of groups, companies, organizations being disgusting about this vaccine. There's no doubt.
I was just gonna say, wouldn't it be so perfectly only in the goddamn NHL of them if the NHL, saw this and was like, oh, we're gonna buy a mass, bulk of vaccine for our players. Then someone, objected and probably said, like, won't that make us look like a bunch of scumbags? To which, Gary Bettman would probably went, don't worry, all the other leagues are going to do it too. So, like, it won't be a big deal. And then it turns out that, like, the NHL is the only one doing it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I also wouldn't put it past the NHL more than any of the other four leagues based on the demographics of the makeup. That there's probably a handful of anti-vaxxers among the bunch.
That is something I do not get with this whole vaccine thing. I get it. I really don't ever get it, but I get it more if it's one side going, I'm not doing this. But it's like 50% of the country and crossing all sorts of the whole political spectrum going, no way am I doing this.
The craziest shit I saw was a conspiracy theory saying that COVID was manufactured by Bill Gates to sell vaccines.
Vaccines have microchips in them to control people. Yeah.
Well, you know what? To that argument, and I've seen a lot of people say that they're going to put a microchip in us and trace us. It's like if you think for a second that you aren't being traced already, like by your phone, by your credit cards, by all the other bullshit. Come on, now.
They're saying that they're like tweeting that they're tweeting conspiracy theories from their smartphone, which is connected to like the largest international grid,
which probably has an ongoing NSA file already. So
I had this very same discussion with my group of friends last week because last week California started. There's an app for the phone that you can get where in exchange, if you're within 6 feet of somebody for 15 or more minutes, your phones exchange over Bluetooth like a code. And if either of you like test positive for COVID, you can then like input the code to like let people know like, hey, Anyway, a couple of my friends were like, oh, I mean, that I don't like that. That's a Big Brother state. It's like, again, you don't think that they're not already tracking your phone, big guy? Well, if they want to know what you are doing at home on your Xbox, they can do it.
I think the thing with tracing that I just can't get past, and I look, as far as like knowing information and stuff, that ship sailed literally 20 years ago, maybe even further back than that. Yeah. The thing with the tracing to me is that the exponential growth of who people are in contact with. It's so quick that, like, say, okay, that person X becomes infected. So you go, okay, I want to trace it back. And he goes, well, I was with 10 people today. And then that 10 people, I just don't see how you can do a reasonable job of it where you can actually,
Right.
you know what I'm saying?
The whole thing with the phone too is like it only works if enough people sign up for it because it's not mandatory. Like it's on your phone if you want to activate it, but you don't have to like do it.
Yeah, I think my iPhone has something like a COVID tracker on it that I just don't use because
right.
I don't
But
see
the-
anybody. So-
Well, right. I mean, that was my thing. It's like I activated it just to like do it in good faith, but like I also know that I'm never going to be within 6 feet of somebody for more than 15 minutes
no,
that I already don't know is fine.
no, I get nervous if people start talking to me and they're keeping their distance, and I'll start like watching my watch, like going, how long has this been? I really do because again, this thing isn't hard to navigate if you just do the little things. It's not that difficult. I'm not saying that it makes you perfectly safe, but there are real easy ways to lower your risk, and they're not crushing your rights or anything like that. And I get the argument, some of the lockdowns I think have been extreme. I'm not so sure that they work, but none of that means that like say if Ohio opens tomorrow, like Florida's open right now, doesn't mean that you go run out and jump in the pile and go, hey, everything's fine. No, it's just, but yeah, the whole thing is crazy. But
Like there's vaccines out. Just do what you can to stay safe and not get it before you get the vaccine. And
on crazy people. There's a guy in Tampa, and he
crazy guy in
owns-
Tampa. You say?
no
It's like
way.
if you could
Yeah,
still
No way.
there.
I'm sorry, Mike. I don't believe it already.
And he's got property right by 275 heading north. Anyone who is from Florida might know what I'm talking
I
about.
know
Anyway,
exactly what you're talking about.
anyway, he's got property by there, and he's a huge Trump supporter because I know this because he's got this giant fuck off flag that says Trump 2020 that he had been flying for like a month prior to the election, and he had been keeping that thing flying up until like literally the past 2 days where it finally came down and was replaced with just a standard American flag. So I'm guessing maybe the Electoral College finally just,
I think we talked about this like the day after the election, just how funny it was to see how fast they all came down. There was one holdout in my neighborhood. I kept it up for like an extra week, but it finally came down. And like,
Guys, I hate to break this to you, but you run up here, there's still quite a few of them out.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
It depends on where you are, but like seeing some of those come down, it's not the same thing exactly, but it's like a small version of the Berlin Wall falling, right?
God.
We're like, there's this thing that you're just like, oh, I fucking hate looking at this thing every day for years and years and years. And one day, it just comes down, and you say, oh, there's a guy behind that flag.
I just hope that we can find a way to make this transition work because right now, if we can get to January 21st and everything's cool, I'll feel much better.
I feel much better
maybe
today.
I'm being too much of an alarmist, but I just don't know what some people are capable of at this point. I mean, I've seen I'm just worried that even Bush Gore wasn't this contentious. And it's like, wow, this is just crazy. And we'll see what happens. I hope
because they were just arguing the results of one state and not saying that the entire operation of a American election was faulty.
Well, anyway, let's not go down that rabbit hole because it'll just depress me.
Yeah.
And
I felt once now that we got like the Electoral College out of the way, I feel much better. Like not that I was feeling bad, like it was just kind of it was just like enough of suffering these idiots. Let's just get to a point where we can say, look, you literally have no other way to get around this at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Shut up and like I know you're not going to stop talking, but just like go over there and just let us live our lives.
Well, we'll see.
Yeah, we're getting there. One. It's kind of like a week at a time thing.
Yeah.
But in positive news, just to close out the show, I'm very excited to say this. Very big news in my home. My dog got neutered 2 weeks ago.
Oh,
and has been wearing a cone and hates it. And tomorrow he gets his cone off, and we're very excited.
All right.
Mazel tov.
Yes, I cannot. He's very excited. I'm excited. My wife's excited. He gets to take his cone off, and it's going to be a joyous occasion for everyone in our house. So
cool.
Yeah.
Happy Hanukkah, Mike, on the air.
Oh, thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
And that Queen video that you sent was amazing.
Yeah, the Hanukkah Rhapsody. Yeah.
Yeah, was awesome.
What day are we on, Mike?
We are on. I want to say the 4th, actually.
Okay.
Yeah, 4th night, I think. Yeah.
So good midway point.
Yeah.
Do you guys have some like? Is there some like secret conversation you guys have going on? I never know what the hell you're talking about when you bring up these.
We need to
we need to bring Andy into the text chat.
Well,
Yeah.
you know what? I don't think I think that the person that started it has to be the person that adds him because I've tried adding him and I can't.
You can add anybody.
I can?
Yeah.
Let me see if I can bring.
Add him to it if you can.
Listen, no, you don't have to make an exception for me if you want to play.
Because I have another group of friends that I text with, and they wanted me to add somebody to it, and I couldn't because I didn't start the.
Okay, so I think this is your current phone number. I don't know. We'll find out.
Let me just read it out loud here on the air. Here.
Yeah, I'm not going to do that, but let's see. Okay, so let's. I added who I think is you. Let's see.
I don't have my phone hand here. I'd try it.
Hey.
Yeah, we don't need to do this live.
Okay.
Yeah, right. Okay, anyway, so if nobody's got anything else.
217 area code? Does that ring a bell?
Yeah, 217. Let's go to 217 now here on the air. Yes, it's me. You got the right number.
Time,
okay. There we go. There we go.
Well, now all of us are in there.
Cool. That'll be fun. We're going to drive him nuts. He'll wish we never added him to it, but okay.
No worries. Thanks, guys.
All right. Anyway, so yeah, we've been meaning to do it for a long time, but then we don't really text as much as we used to, though, either. So
we text on when something
Sundays,
happens.
on Sundays,
yeah. It's just this whole like NFL season's been weird, so it's just been hard to.
Speaking of weird, how bad are my Browns losing already?
I think they're winning, actually.
Oh wait, yep, there it is. I got a text. Let me check here, Mike, real quick. Oh, I got it right on my computer. We can look right at it.
It's tied up at 7 all.
Everybody's there.
Alrighty.
Okay, cool. All right, folks. If you guys have got nothing else, let's start putting a bow on this thing. And
I got nothing.
All right, then we will call it a night. Follow us on Twitter at Basically Sports. Subscribe via Apple Podcasts, Spreaker, Stitcher, the YouTubes, and wherever fine podcasting is sold. Links for the next round of the ITD will be posted shortly. And with all that, thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.
Go Bucks!
Bye-bye.
The following program is rated TV.